In this training, we'll look at why commercial drivers must sign into their truck's ELD before driving and how that simple step supports compliant, safe, and accountable operations. ELDs are critical for compliance, safety, and fleet management. At the start of each shift, drivers must sign into their assigned ELD and make sure duty status changes are recorded accurately. If a driver fails to log in, the result can be regulatory violations, inaccurate records, disciplinary action, and increased safety risk for both the driver and the operation. An electronic logging device automatically records driving time when the truck is in motion, and it synchronizes with the engine to capture activity tied to the vehicle. Welcome. In this short training, you'll learn how to sign into your ELD before you start driving, so you're ready to log your time correctly from the very beginning. It also supports the driver's record of duty status by helping track when you're driving, on duty, off duty, or in the sleeper berth, but the device does not magically know who is behind the wheel. The driver login is what connects that vehicle movement to the correct person. Without that connection, the system may still record movement, but the record can end up unassigned, inaccurate, or attached to the wrong driver. That matters because ELD data is not just for the screen in the cab. It supports hours of service compliance, roadside inspections, audits, and safety oversight. For drivers who are subject to the ELD rule, the expectation is simple. Before operating the commercial vehicle, log into the device so the record starts with the right driver identified. Once you're in, confirm your current duty status so the log reflects what you are actually doing at the start of the shift. Accurate records are a driver responsibility. That means paying attention to entries, reviewing what the device captured, and addressing issues instead of assuming the system got everything right. When certification is required, the driver must certify the record. That step confirms the log is complete and accurate to the best of the driver's knowledge. Drivers also need to cooperate during enforcement contacts. If an officer asks for logs, the driver must be ready to display or transfer the required records from the device. The big idea is accountability. The ELD helps create the record, but the driver still owns the accuracy of that record and the duty to use the system correctly. Hours of service limits only work when the system knows who is driving. Signing in at the start of the shift helps make sure available hours are tied to the correct driver from the first movement. That affects how driving time accumulates, when break requirements come into play, and whether rest periods are captured accurately. If a driver moves the truck before logging in, those minutes do not disappear. They can become unassigned time, and later, corrections may still leave questions about the true duty record. From a safety standpoint, accurate logs help drivers and supervisors see how much legal driving time remains before a limit is reached. That visibility matters because fatigue risk often builds quietly. A bad log can make a driver appear to have more available hours than they really do, or hide how long they have been working. When the login is right, the rest of the day has a better chance of being right too. Breaks, on-duty time, driving windows, and rest periods all start from a more reliable record. That is why ELD login is more than compliance housekeeping. It supports fatigue prevention and safer decision-making throughout the shift. When a truck moves without the proper driver logged in, the ELD can record that movement as unassigned driving time. In plain terms, the vehicle moved, but the system cannot confidently tie that activity to the right person. That usually triggers follow-up. Someone has to review the event, determine who is driving, and decide whether the time should be accepted, rejected, or investigated further. These records draw attention because they can point to poor controls, weak driver habits, or gaps in carrier oversight. For the driver, unresolved unassigned time can raise questions about log accuracy and whether all duty activity was recorded truthfully. For the carrier, repeated unassigned events can create audit exposure and extra administrative work, and a concern that hours of service records are not being managed effectively. The safest approach is to prevent the problem at the source. No vehicle movement until the correct driver is logged in and the ELD is ready. Before the truck moves, start with the ELD. Log in using your own credentials so the system identifies the correct driver from the beginning of the shift. Next, verify the vehicle information and trailer details if your operation requires them. Small mistakes here can create confusion later in the log and in company records. Confirm your duty status before you drive. Make sure the record matches what you are actually doing right now. Review any unassigned driving time or pending events that need your attention. Do not ignore them and assume someone else will fix them later. Check that the device appears to be functioning properly and that required information is displaying as expected. If something looks wrong, report it immediately through company procedure. A problem caught before departure is much easier to manage than one discovered during an inspection or after hours have already been recorded incorrectly. During a roadside inspection, an officer may ask to see the driver's record of duty status and supporting ELD information for the required period. The driver needs to be ready to display the records on the device or transfer them using the method the ELD supports. If the driver was not properly logged in, the records presented may be incomplete, confusing, or tied to unassigned movement instead of the actual operator. That can lead to violations, delays, and closer scrutiny of both the driver's actions and the carrier's compliance controls. In more serious cases, record-keeping failures can contribute to out-of-service consequences or prevent the trip from continuing until the issue is addressed. The easiest inspection is the one you are already prepared for. Proper login, accurate duty status, and a working transfer method make that possible. An ELD malfunction does not remove the driver's responsibility to keep accurate hours of service records. It changes how that responsibility is carried out until the issue is resolved. Drivers need to recognize when the device is not working properly, such as missing required data, failing to record activity correctly, or not allowing the records to be displayed or transferred as expected. When that happens, report the issue promptly through company procedure. Do not keep driving as if the problem will fix itself. The driver may need to reconstruct records in the alternate format the company requires, so hours of service remain documented while the malfunction is being addressed. This is also a carrier responsibility. The company must have a process for responding to malfunctions, preserving compliance records, and directing the driver on what to do next. The training point is simple. Recognize the problem, report it quickly, document your time correctly, and follow the company process until the ELD is back in service. A common mistake is moving the truck first and planning to log in later. The reality is that the ELD can record movement immediately, and that gap can create unassigned driving time and questions about the log. Another bad habit is sharing credentials. That destroys accountability and can attach activity to the wrong driver, which creates serious compliance and safety problems. Some drivers assume the device knows who is driving because it knows the truck is moving. It doesn't. Vehicle movement and driver identity are not the same thing. Another mistake is ignoring edits, prompts, or unassigned time. If you do not review the record, errors can sit there until an inspection, audit, payroll dispute, or crash investigation brings them to light. Failing to certify logs when required is another avoidable problem. Certification is part of the driver's responsibility to confirm the record is accurate. Each of these habits has the same pattern. A small shortcut at the start turns into a bigger compliance issue later, and when records are wrong, the safety risk rises too, because supervisors and drivers may be making decisions based on incomplete or inaccurate hours. The better habit is simple and repeatable. Sign in, verify the ELD, review what it shows, and fix issues before the wheels turn. When drivers are not properly logged in, the damage goes beyond one bad record. It can affect audits, payroll accuracy, mileage tracking, crash reviews, company exposure, and driver accountability. For carriers, that can mean violations, penalties, wasted time, and weakened confidence in the safety program. For drivers, it can mean citations, inspection problems, and discipline that could have been avoided. Keep the rule simple enough to remember every day. No movement until the driver is logged in and the ELD is verified. That one habit supports compliance, protects the record of duty status, reduces unassigned driving, and helps prevent fatigue-related risk before the trip even begins. If you supervise drivers, reinforce it. If you drive, own it. Sign in first, then move the truck. That is how safe, accurate, inspection-ready operations begin. As we close, remember this ELD training was provided by Aegis Risk Engineering as part of our broader safety education program designed to support safer decisions on the road, in the yard, and on every job. This material is provided for instructional and informational purposes only. It is meant to reinforce safe practices and support training, not replace your company's policies, official regulatory guidance, or legal advice. Every organization remains responsible for following the laws, regulations, and internal requirements that apply to its operations, equipment, drivers, and cargo. At Aegis General Energy, our mission is to build a stronger safety culture and improve operational performance with practical, experience-based guidance that makes safety part of the everyday job. Aegis Risk Engineers help support safer communities and help our clients become best in class by turning strong standards into consistent action across the organization. We're proud to partner with clients through practical solutions, meaningful data, and a shared commitment to building safer operations every day. On behalf of Aegis General Energy and our risk engineering team, thank you for your time and attention and for the work you do to keep people, loads, and roads safer.